once you see my black mascara run from you into my mama's hands, you selfish man, you understand what you once you see my slick eyeliner blend into my black designer bags under my eyes. Oh, how you try to understand what you done to me, what you done to me, what you done to me, 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 you made your bed, tried your life, died your life, my mind, oh, try to understand just what you.
Right then, 8:30 on a Tuesday night. Let's record a bit of a explanation on what we've done on this 850i BMW 2020. Nice car. I really like these actually. Imagine smashing across Europe in one of these with the roof down would be quite cool, especially with the sound system that we've just put into it. So let me show you around the car now. Right, a little Tuesday afternoon update. I'll try not to ramble too much. The driver's door is coming along nicely. The inner skin's back on and the speakers are in and all wired up. So as you can see on the other side, the inner skin comes off these 8 Series without having to take the regulator out, which is nice. I think on some of the other cars, they're all one. And that's meant we've been able to sound deaden the outer skin, sound deaden both sides of this in places where there's enough flat surface. It's all very kind of complex shape, so it's a bit difficult to sound deaden the whole of it, but that 4-inch speaker, it's sound deadened nicely on both sides around where that will play. We'll then put some foam on the door cards so that when it presses against there as well, nothing's going to rattle. But you've got the Focal ESK100 or ES100K, sorry. That's part of a 2-part set. We're not using the whole set on that. I'll show you what we're doing for the tweeters in a minute. 3D printed baffle. The customer did supply some baffles, which I didn't really like the look of. They were 3D printed with the infill, so they weren't solid, and they'd just been self-tapped into to mount the speakers. So these are a different design. In fact, I've got one up on the desk I can show you, where you can put, Daniel's put speaker tape on the back of it, but there's a bolt coming through the back of there, and then you can put the nut on the front. And that, like I say, is a completely solid bit of plastic, so it's a much better mounting for it. The wire then runs, is soldered onto the back of the speaker, runs out here, and then I've loom taped it up in there into a BMW connector. So again, nothing's been cut, so it can all go back to how it was before, because the customer's only keeping this car probably 12 months or so. The other wire you can see is just taped up in this loom heading to where the tweeter goes, and that needs to be terminated. So that one's almost done. The Audison underseat is in, and there's some nice sound deadening around the area where we can get to. You can take that plastic bit out so you can sound deaden that whole section. And actually, unlike the 3 and 4 Series that are in a complete enclosure, the mounting for that that underseat, it kind of clamps it to the floor, so the floor becomes the lower part of the enclosure. So it is quite important to sound deaden that nicely. Passenger door, that'll be back together in about 20 minutes or so. But we've been able to run the wire through the conduit, so that just comes apart. There's a hole at the bottom of that that's already there, so you don't need to drill or butcher or cut anything. Then the wires just pop through the bit of foam there nicely, and ready for termination to run down the sill into the back, into the amplifier, ready to run these fully active. The reason people don't like running these fully active, he said on his last 8 Series they didn't really want to do it, the company, is because I think this is quite difficult to, or not difficult, but just time consuming, because you've got all the body control module and fuse boards and bits behind there, so you need to take all of that out so that you can get to the other side of that plug just to pull the wire through. It's not impossible, but I can see why people didn't want to do it. But we have done it, so this will be fully active. The other Audison is in there, ready to go. The door cards, so the customer, like I said, supplied all the bits, so we have got the focal tweeters that we could put in there that have just got Tessa tape around them from a previous install, so they push fit into place. And then obviously the passive crossovers that we're not going to use. And because we're not using those, he also had these Audison Voce tweeters, which I think are a nicer tweeter than the focal. Slightly bigger diameter and a smoother sound. So we've 3D printed a adapter piece that goes inside the BMW part. That's and then this tweeter splits apart, so the faceplate around the line just where my fingernail is, that pops off the front. It's not destructive, it can go back on again afterwards. In fact, there is the faceplate from the other one that we took off. And then on this door card, that's then push fit into that adapter, and then we've just got some speaker tape around it just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's pretty tight in that adapter. Interesting, well, there's not much space between, or much distance between the 4-inch and the tweeter, so is it worth going fully active? I mean, even if it's 5-10% better, I still think it's worth it. It's not the hardest thing to do, and the customer's got plenty of channels on the 10-channel match amp that he's supplied, so it seems silly not to do it. Our Ethernet breakout box, custom made for us, definitely not generic. That's going to go in tomorrow, and we've got the JL HD750 that's going to run these two subwoofers. So we've used these before, or one of these before, in the C63 AMG that we did. Didn't take a video of that, but it was on the Instagram. For the price of them, great sounding little sub box. Be interesting to see what 2 does and how they perform, but they're going to sit on the boot floor. Before I put the side panel of the boot back on, I just wanted to show you the equipment that we've squeezed into this space. We've had to squeeze it all into this space because there's no room around the battery, there's no other space under the floor, and on this side, I think on maybe other models you might have a bit of space, but it's all taken up by the hood or the convertible roof, pump and piping and everything. So the only space we've had is down here. There was a big polystyrene block with some tools in it. We've sacrificed that space to fit the amps and this breakout box in. The breakout box, you'll now notice, has lost my stupid tongue-in-cheek sticker. Obviously, I don't get them made for me. Some companies do, fair play to them. They've got their own name on the front of them. They probably helped a little bit with the development, because I was also emailed about a year ago with details of this box and asking for feedback. I wasn't really big enough then, I'm probably not really big enough now to buy them in batch and get them sign written with my name. But if you're after one of these, there's plenty of places to get them. Do your research. If you want to buy it from one of the other people, fair play. That's it helps them out, and they've probably bought a batch of them to be able to get their logo on. So absolutely no problems buying from them. I know this all looks a bit of a mess. That's going to get hidden behind the side panel of the boot when it goes on, and I've also got to tidy a couple more of these up because there's the tuning cable that I've still got in there and the sub cable that I don't quite know where it's going to come out onto the boot floor yet. But what have we got here? So behind this plate is the original amp, which you need to keep in place on these. Does the radio and some other telematic bits. If you can't completely get rid of that, so you need to leave that in. But what it does is, or what we're doing with this box is piggybacking off that kind of thing. So the signal, instead of going directly into that amp at the back, is going into this first and then relaying onto that amp. This is then interpreting that signal, which is coming in this white plug here, or that's the plug that goes into the back amp actually. This is interpreting that Ethernet signal and turning it into a 2-channel digital signal that then we can take out via a SPDIF cable that goes into our amp here. That's that one. So that's a nice, clean, non-processed, no kind of engine noise signal that goes directly into the amplifier. Before this box, that wasn't possible on the later G-series cars, anything from 2020 onwards. Prior to that, the BMWs, as everyone probably knows, used fibre optic, most 25 for fibre optic, and there was the Audison DMI, or a while ago there was the Helix SDMI that you could use to break out and get a clean digital signal. Until this, you've had to process 2 different amplifiers because there was another amplifier sitting down here of the BMW system. De-equalize all that, try and clean it up, and then process it how you wanted. Wasn't the best way of doing it, but it's worked up until now. But this is a much better way of doing it. You get a really nice clean digital signal. So if you've got a BMW and you're in the market for an audio upgrade, give us a shout, and we can talk you through it. What else have we got in here? So underneath here, there's a JLHD 700-1 that's running 2 subs, which aren't in there at the moment. I'll show you those at the end. And the match up 10 DSP. So that's a great little amplifier. It's got a 10 channel output. We're not using all of those 10 channels. I think we're using 9. I'll talk you through those at the end. And then a processed output to the subs, so we can time align and EQ those as well. So yeah, great little bit of kit. All you're going to see when the side of the boot's back in is that there'll be an access hatch that you can open up, and you'll see the top of that amp and be able to get to the tuning cable for future tuning if you need. But I'm going to get on, put the side of this boot in. I've spent far too long faffing around trying to get it as tidy as possible. Everything's cable tied in, nothing's going to rattle around and move. So that's the important thing when it's playing, that there's going to be no rattles. I'll speak to you again in a little bit. Nice car. I really like these actually. Imagine smashing across Europe in one of these with the roof down would be quite cool, especially with the sound system that we've just put into it. So we've got a fully active front end, rears running in differential rear fill. They haven't been upgraded, they're just the OEM rears. The customer did have some 3-inch rears that he dropped off, some upgraded ones, Audison Voce 3 inches. Personally, I don't feel that putting a 3-inch in is much of an upgrade compared to a 4-inch. That's my personal opinion. So I chose to stick with the 4 inches. And like I say, we're running those differential rear fill anyway, so they're not getting quite as much power or kind of full low ends that they would do. They only play down to 150 hertz anyway, so call it low end if you want, but they sound great, the originals in the rear. In the boot, we've got 2 Helix, I should look up the name of them. Hang on, I'll be back. These little puppies, the Helix K10 SE.2. It's a shallow downfiring subwoofer. I've already forgotten it. K10 SE2.2. Anyway, what I just showed you is 830. I told you it's a late one. They play really well in the boot. I mean, for the price they are, 2 of those, we've got them stacked on top of each other in this one, or you could have them side by side and in a boot and put all your shopping and luggage on top of them if you wanted to. They're pretty phenomenal, really. They're running off a JLHD 750 amp, so they're getting a split of that across the 2 of them. They're 2 voice coils, so each sub has got 2 2-ohm voice coils. So we've wired this in parallel series or series parallel. I always forget again which is which, but basically the amp is seeing a 4-ohm load, so you could wire these into anything, an M1X, any kind of JL or Audison amp that you've got that deals with 4 ohms, and they really play well. They're nice. They're ported, so they're kind of tuned to about 40 hertz, so they're quite punchy. We've EQ'd those down, but yeah, I think they sound really nice. Not going to rival your kind of JL W6 and W7s in competition terms, but for what this person wanted and for the space that was available in the boot and for the cost of them, like I say, I'm really impressed. Again, second time I've used those, and I think I'm going to carry on using them in various cars. Amplification, touched on it, JLHD 750.1, and then running the whole system is that match up 10. So that's an Audiotec Fischer product. They've got 3 lines, match, Helix and Brax. The match is, although they're lower end products, they're really good. The amplifiers, I'm not so keen on the speakers from match, but those little match amplifiers, they're brilliant little plug and play amps. Let me show you, there's not much to see. That's the other nice thing with this. So it's all OEM integration and it's all behind the speaker grills. So let me show you around the car now. So for those that are worrying, oh, I don't want a sound system in my car because it's going to look silly and there's going to be speakers everywhere and it's going to look like a Halfords car park. I mean, tell me where the upgrade is in that. All behind the OEM grills. in the boot, again, if you just looked at that, okay, there's 2 grey carpet boxes there, but there's not a huge amount that you can actually get under that bit. And then underneath here, like I was saying in the last little video, that's all you can see from the match amp. And then underneath the match is the JL amp. And behind that bit of carpet was that breakout box. So it's not intrusive, it's not ruined the car at all. Or the only other thing that's quite smart, I think. So that would come and sit down there. You pop it up, and there's a little mount that we've 3D printed and then wrapped that sits in the cup holder. That's been tilted back so it points towards you. Actually, let's just wake the car up to show you that. So there we go, that's your sub volume. Press it once and that's your rear attenuation or rear volume. Press it again, and when it's purple, that's, you've got some bass control, so you can dial the bass up. That's set to about 110 hertz. So that acts nicely on the underseat speakers. So you've kind of almost got a bit of a separate volume control just for the underseat speakers. Press and hold it for a couple of seconds, it turns yellow, and that does your high frequency. So that's set to about 5,000 hertz, just to kind of give you some treble control, because you shouldn't adjust the treble through the old way of doing it, because we're working with a nice flat signal. As soon as you start adding bass and treble through the head unit, that's where it kind of, you could push the amplifier too far or push the speakers too far. Whereas doing it with this, it's all set within safe parameters. So let's just go back to that. That's your tone control, and you press and hold it again to go back to purple. Press it again, and these are your presets. So I haven't finished setting these up yet, but there'll be 4. There'll be driver's roof closed, both seats roof closed, driver's roof open, and then both front seats roof open. And the customer will have a little note that tells them which is which. That's set to the first one at the moment. But yeah, I think that looks quite smart. It's kind of within good eyesight of the driver. So that's the only thing really that shows you that it's got anything different in. And when that's closed, you can't see it either.
Once you see my black mascara run from you into my mama's hands, you selfish man, you understand what you want. You see my slick eyeliner blend into my black designer bags under my eyes. Oh, how you try to understand what you done to me, what you done to me, what you done to me, 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 you done to me. You made your bed, lied your life, I'm not try to understand just what you done to me, 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 you done to me. You made your bed, lied your life, I'm not try to understand just what you done. You see my black mascara run from you into my mama's head.
But that's your BMW 850, and in fact any BMW that's going to have ID7 or ID8, that digital box will work with those. When you're listening to CarPlay or USB or Bluetooth, anything from your phone streaming or anything kind of digital music, it's phenomenal. The sound's incredible, and it all works on the BMW system. So you've still got your steering wheel controls, obviously your screen still works. Nothing in the way you interact with the car changes at all. You've just got this massive sound upgrade, and now it's a digital sound upgrade. So thanks for watching. If you have questions on these, give me a shout. audio@cambridgeautosound.com. Check out the website. In due course, we'll have the different offerings for BMWs, but there's going to be quite a few, so that's going to take a while to come on the website. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.